Hey, welcome in. I'm Kyle is Wonderful, and this is the New Japan Pro Wrestling NJPW Dominion from June 12th, 2022. And I'll be reviewing that today, as well as the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong show that came out earlier today as well. And I watched it right before the Dominion card instead of watching the pre-show. So if anything notable happened on the pre-show, I missed it, and you'll have to look that up for yourself. So apologies on that. But I don't think there was anything much that happened. No matches, of course, on the pre-show. And we'll just get right into it. Just a little bit of housekeeping first on the channel. You can go check out. I've got the first ever Wonderful Wrestling podcast I put out Friday night in the Saturday morning. So that reviewed AEW, WWE for the week, and as well as NXT UK and stuff like that, Impact Wrestling. So I've been covering a little bit of everything on this channel. I've also been putting out, just last night, I got to WrestleMania 39 in WWE 2K22 Universe mode, which, don't worry, I will be doing a New Japan version at some point. But you can also find that on my channel. It was pretty amazing. WrestleMania 39. I definitely enjoyed playing it. So go check that out. And without further ado, we'll just get right into it. New Japan Strong, I used as my pre-show. One other thing I was going to say is later today, I'm going to try and watch and review the NWA Always Ready pay-per-view. So look for that review on the channel as well. Let's get into it. New Japan Strong is a show that takes place in America from New Japan. And if you guys are from my channel and are new to New Japan, this has only been around for a couple years. I think they got it going. They got a dojo in LA to start training people here in America and sending some of their people over, and eventually led to this show called Strong. And that was just before the pandemic. So then the pandemic kind of screwed a lot of that up, of course. But slowly but surely, New Japan Pro Wrestling has been working their way into the American / English speaking markets, which is great. And a lot of that has to do with Bullet Club. Of course, there was people that paved the way before Bullet Club ever got to join New Japan, but Bullet Club mostly and mainly is a Gaijin faction, Gaijin being the word for foreigner in Japan, and what they call all the foreigner wrestlers, regardless of where they come from or what race they are or anything like that. It's just the word for foreigner. And this brought in a lot of eyeballs to the product. It started with Prince Devitt, as we know now as Finn Balor in WWE. He was the original leader of Bullet Club, and slowly but surely, New Japan got some good traction in America. They released their New Japan World, which is where I watched the pay-per-view tonight. No problems whatsoever. Picture perfect quality stream, and it's only about $9 a month. So if you're interested in this product, I would definitely recommend the $9 a month on njpwworld.com to go check it out. And you get to watch all the stuff from the past. You can go watch. There's been numerous people in New Japan. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. And you can go back and watch Hulk Hogan, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, all kinds of people that you might have never expected have been over here. And some like Vader and stuff like that. So we're actually champions. So there's a rich history, not only of great Japanese wrestlers, but great American, British, and Canadian wrestlers, as well as Mexico as well. And that continues to today. So you might have heard me on this channel. I've been talking about NXT and how they're the minor leagues or the proving ground or the training center for WWE. Well, New Japan system is a little bit different, and I love the way that New Japan, the backbone of New Japan wrestling, is the way that they bring up their newcomers, which they call young lions. And this is very, very, very good way to do it, which I wouldn't. WWE doesn't necessarily have the connections. So what New Japan does is they'll bring in people to the dojo, try them out, train them, blah blah blah. You might, if you make it past each individual test they might put on you, you make it further along until maybe eventually they'll actually let you become like an official young lion, and then you All of this before would have taken place not on camera, in front of nobody, all in the background. Eventually, you might get on camera after a lot of training in the dojo. All you get is no gimmick, no fancy haircuts for the most part. Um, just plain black trunks and the most simplest move set, and every young lion has the exact same move set. And they will lose every single match if they're playing fighting against anybody else that's not a young lion. So they're the very lowest bottom of the totem pole. Their records, once they're done being a young lion, will be something along the lines of 10-52 or 62 or 72, however long they stay as a young lion. And of course, those like 10 wins would be against other young lions every now and then. So that's the very raw recruits. For instance, like they're every single one of them, their finisher is a Boston Crab. And once you graduate from being a young lion, then you go out on what they call the excursion tour. And this is to get seasoned in different styles and cultures and different ways of it's a perfect way. So like in WWE, you'll notice throughout the years now that there's been no WCW and stuff like that, no territory system. WWE wants to train everybody to wrestle like the exact same way, which eventually you get like all these really super bland matches. Thankfully, in the last 6 or 7 years, for WWE fans' sake, like me, who I'm a fan of everything, um, they bring in talent from outside of the WWE system. Well, now they're back. WWE's back to only wanting to do stuff within the WWE system. Everybody's going to be trained the exact same freaking way, but New Japan does it right. So after they train everybody the exact same way at the very beginning, with doing nothing but the very foundations, no gimmick work, no character work, no promo work per se. Although they do get to talk in the backstage segments backstage interviews every now and then. But once they graduate from being a young lion, they get to go out and explore the world through the different partnerships that New Japan has, whether it be AAA promotion in Mexico. It used to be Ring of Honor in USA, as well as TNA, and right now it's AEW, as well as Impact Wrestling. And you've got Rev Pro over in Britain, and I'm sure there's plenty of more. There's Australian ones. There's probably something like Germany and maybe even India. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Probably not India because they don't have a good scene. But anybody that has a decent promotion, and then they're partners with New Japan. So then New Japan can send their young lions. For example, Jay White, who's in tonight's main event, was a young lion when I first started watching New Japan, just plain black trunks. He got sent on an excursion, came back with a new character, and immediately went to the main event scene. Now, not every young lion's going to go straight from their excursion to the main event scene, but it shows you that it could be done. You never know what you're going to get. So you might get a show in a yo, you might get Master or on Great Okan. So you never know what basically what I'm trying to say is the backbone of New Japan is their system of how they train their new recruits and send them out on excursions, while also bringing in some foreign wrestlers, some of the best around the world, and hopefully they continue to grow so that they can keep signing and signing and signing and keeping these high level players and wrestlers. So, like I said, I'm going to get into New Japan Strong. I use that as my pre-show tonight. I won't spend a whole bunch of time on New Japan Strong, but I did want to get it out of the way. It's not a show to be missed, and to be frank, I enjoyed the hour of New Japan Strong a lot more than the first hour of tonight's Dominion event. So, tonight's New Japan Strong started out with Yuya Uemura, who is one of the young lions out on excursion, and now they can send people out on excursion, or even he might even technically be a young lion still, but they can send some of the young lions over to the LA dojo and then fight on New Japan Strong. So we've seen Yuya Uemura in other things, such as I've seen him in Bloodsport, which he's amazing at. And another guy we've seen in Bloodsport before is Killer Cross. So this one was going to be Yuya Uemura versus Killer Cross, and I knew immediately that this was going to be like a legit type Bloodsport type match, and that's exactly what we got. Both of them just in plain black trunks, no nonsense really going on. Really hard hitting. Love this match. Definitely go out of your way to watch it. It's really short but high impact. It's kind of out of the Bloodsport mold. Um, some might look like the untrained eye might look at this match and say, "Oh, Killer Cross, he looks a little dangerous in the ring, a little sloppy." But I think what they were going for is trying to make it look like he was dropping Yuya on his head. But if you go back and watch, which I did, I rewound it and watched. He doesn't drop him on his head, and then the announcers just really put over that. Oh, Yuya got dropped on his head. So the untraded I would think Killer Cross was being sloppy in this New Japan Strong match, but I think that Killer Cross just was wrestling a really snug match, and I don't think it was dangerous whatsoever. It got really nasty at a point here. Killer Cross is just nailing Yuya Uemura from behind, and the ref had to stop the match, and your winner is Killer Cross. Really short match, really good match. I'm gonna try and get through New Japan Strong quickly for you guys. I know you're probably not here for that. The Factory's out next. It's QT Marshall with Nick Camarado and Aaron Solo, who we all know from AEW Impact. Carl Fredericks comes out next. He's got a ton of tassels, so he's always in my good graces. Tassels equal thumbs up from me. Carl Fredericks has been wanting to fight the Factory for a while, so he's super fired up. He has a ton of fire. The crowd's really into him. We get a dive out to the outside to Nick Camarado. Then we get a dive to Aaron Solo. Nick then takes out Carl, but the ref kicks both of Aaron Solo and Nick out. So then we just got 1-versus-1. And then this is when I realized, okay, well, this is going to be your sports entertainment style. If anybody ever has a doubt in their mind, if any AEW fans, what Jericho and Regal are talking about when they talk about pro wrestling versus sports entertainment, the beginning of New Japan Strong shows you exactly the difference between pro wrestling and sports entertainment. So the first match was pro wrestling, and then this match is sports entertainment. And it's good to have both styles on your show. Variety shows are always like good. Like, I don't know if I watched a weekly blood sports show if the appeal would probably lose itself. Anyway, this one was sports entertainment. And it was a pretty long match, but it was solid. It was basically a showcase match as well. So we got to see all the repertoire of Carl Fredericks and QT Marshall, which you never see QT Marshall hit moves like he was hitting on AEW Dark. And at one point, QT hits Anthony Ogogo's finisher, the pop-up punch. So we know that QT gave Anthony Ogogo that finisher for sure and trained him on it. Carl wins, and then he tells QT that he fights for this badge. Right here, it's the New Japan logo on the bottom of the mat. And then QT offers a handshake, but then Solo and Nick Camarado, of course, attack from behind. Someone in a mask and a robe comes out to make the save. But if you've been watching this man for as long as I have, you knew exactly who it is just by his body motions and body type. It was the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels, making his return to New Japan Strong to fight off the Factory. So then it was main event time. We've got Bullet Club. So in both main events of the two New Japan shows I watched tonight, Switchblade Jay White was in the main event. So this one had Switchblade Jay White, the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson, and then Juice before his appendicitis, because this was taped a while ago. Obviously, that's why Jay White was able to get over to Japan, because it wasn't taped tonight. And then Juice Robinson and Hikuleo. So Good Brothers, Switchblade, Juice, and Hikuleo are your Bullet Club members. And they're fighting against Ishii, Ren Narita, which Ren Narita, another like young lion type that's over there on the excursion type, but maybe still a young lion. So Ishii, Ren Narita, Rocky Romero, Chucky T, and Mascara Dorado, which is the former WWE Grand Metalik. And I hope to see Mascara over in Japan really soon. He had some really good work over there. Early on in the match, Juice shows that he's like super heel now by spitting in Ren Narita's face. I'm pretty sure those two used to tag a lot when Ren was a young lion. Ren Narita, of course, gets isolated in this match. Surprise, surprise. Bullet Club just takes heel tactic measures on Ren Narita. Ren Narita gets a chokehold at a point to finally get back in his favor. I didn't mention it, but Ian Riccaboni and the former Vaudevillain member, his name now is Matt Ringwald, formerly of the Vaudevillains, but I can't remember his name that when he was in the Vaudevillains. Anyway, they're the announcers, and then Ian Riccaboni brings up the long list of Shikara names that Chucky T had during this match. That was really funny. A 5-man forever clothesline on Jay White. And then Rocky pretty much takes everyone down himself and pretty much is like, what is going on here? But then he almost gets pinned by Hikuleo. Or he almost pins Hikuleo, but gets chokeslammed to lose soon after by Hikuleo. Hikuleo with the win. Big brawl at the end, and then in a Blade Runner on Ishii to close the show. And we'll see if Jay White closes the other show tonight, standing tall. So we'll get to the New Japan Dominion card now. Apologies if you didn't want to hear that other stuff. Great video package as usual. Opens the show. Pretty lengthy, about 4 or 5 minute video package, but it did a good job of running down all the card. So I'll just let you guys know right now. Basically, this card is split into 2 different halves. It's got a bad half and a good half. So the first half obviously is the bad half, and the first match is actually one of the better ones of the first half. So the first match is United Empire. They're out first. It is TJP, Hinare, and Akira. And they are accompanied by former WBA boxing welterweight champion Jesse Vargas, who we're told that he's friends with TJP. And we find out during the match that he being Jesse Vargas, seems to be the new boxing coach for Hinare. Hinare was doing some really good punches, a lot of body punches in this match, and then he'd look over at Jesse Vargas. So Hinare looks to have a boxing coach with him now, with former welterweight champion Jesse Vargas, maybe a fringe member of United Empire going forward. 6 to 9 is out next. That is the Funky Weapon and Master Wato. Master Wato, another one of those. He was a young lion named Kawato when I was first starting. I'm not sure. I think he might have been in the class after Sho and Yo and Jay White. But Hinare was close to that class as well. Hinare was another former young lion. So it's 6 to 9, and they are the current reigning junior heavyweight tag team champions, and they're the 69th champions on record, which that was always Funky Weapon Taguchi's gimmick, that he was the 69th junior heavyweight singles champion. So now he's also the 69th junior tag team champion. So Funky Weapon is his butt. That is his butt. If you do not know, he's got a butt gimmick. He hits people with it. He loses his pants a lot. That's kind of a comedy character. Can also go in the ring when he wants to. Former tag team champion partner with Finn Balor, Prince Devitt. So can definitely go in the ring. TJP and Akira get the junior tag title shot next Monday. So a week from Monday. A week from Saturday is the next card, but there's no title shots on that. So the main event of the Monday card, a week from Monday, is going to be the junior tag team titles. TJP and Akira getting a shot at 6 to 9. Sorry. So this was a decent match, like I said, not as bad as I thought, having like Funky Weapon in there. It wasn't too much of a comedy match. They mostly stayed serious. Like I was saying, good stuff with Hinare and the new boxing coach. Hinare was looking strong in this, and we'll find out later probably why he's looking strong. But TJP and Akira was some good work. Akira did a Hurricanrana from the apron to the outside of the point, one of the highlights of the match. And it's mostly the juniors doing all the work, but Hinare does something. And I forgot to mention Tenzan was 6 to 9's partner, so it's the two junior tag teams, and then they both have a heavyweight with them. So 6 to 9 has Tenzan with them, and they're also accompanied by Nakanishi. So it's good to see Nakanishi, and he's cheering them on from the outside. So each team has a someone accompanying them. But yeah, great teamwork by United Empire. Well-oiled machine all the way throughout this match. Akira is definitely reminiscent of Prince Devitt and Jordan Devlin, Jay White, from that kind of Finn Balor mold. Akira could be the next one in line for big things. I see a lot of Prince Devitt in Akira. Francesco Akira. So Tenzan finally gets in, and he turns the tide in the favor, but just like 30 seconds later, gets beat. Hanare beats Tenzan with a full Nelson for. I'm not quite sure if he gave up or the ref stopped it, but Hanare gets the win here. And like I said, Monday the main event will be the junior tag titles being defended by 6 to 9 against TJP and Akira. So I was hoping for better things and after that, but it went a little bit of downhill. Even though Lij are out next, um, it's Bushi Hiromu Takahashi who just won his third Best of the Super Juniors in a row. So this whole past month has been featured for the Best of the Super Juniors and the junior heavyweight division in whole. And as a result, this is the first time we've seen Naito since losing to Okada for the heavyweight championship. So a little bit of break. Okada was they were reporting maybe seeing double vision still in that Okada match. So he got a little bit of break while the Super Juniors did their thing. And one thing I'll say about the order of this card, it was kind of nice that we just had a whole month long of the Super Junior tournament, Best of the Super Juniors. So to start out the night, the first match was about the setting up the junior tag team title match, and that story came out of the Best of Super Juniors. Now this next match has the Best Super Juniors champion, who's going to be taking on the junior heavyweight um, champion himself, who is um, Ishimori. Sorry. So Ishimori's in this match, of course. So we're gonna set up that one. And I liked what I was saying is I like that before we get to like regularly scheduled programming after a month long of Super Junior action, we stick with the Super Junior and kind of these are the stories that came out of that before we get to like letting the heavyweights back into the action. So I like the order of the card here. So Bullet Club's out next. It's Ishimori, El Phantasmo, and newest recruit Ace Austin, the X Division champion from Impact Wrestling. Ishimori, also a former X Division champion himself. Um, and El Phantasma worked in. So basically, that was the story that came out of the Best of the Super Juniors final. There was a big 8-man tag match, I think it was, featuring the juniors that didn't make it to the finals, or at least some of them, and that's when Ace Austin turned after the match. Um, El Phantasmo still has Alex Zane's sock from that 10-on-1 beatdown after the event. Alex Zane went to the back and was trying to ask why Ace Austin would do this, and Ace Austin, to his credit, was kind of like telling Zane, like, "Get out of here, man! Like, just get out of here." And then the 10-on-1 beatdown happens. So that was funny that El Phantasmo he stole Alex Zane's sock after the beatdown and still has it as a trophy. So that's funny. Um, this was more of a comedy match at the start than the Funky Weapon match, which caught me by surprise, but it was slightly funny because Ace Austin has like this staff that extends like by a push of a button, and they all thought it was like magic, and the rest of Lij were all checking it out. So that was that was decently funny. But then I loved the quadruple or 3 front flips, 1 back flip into another front flip pose, and then back rake by El Phantasmo. So we were getting that kind of match, but then it kind of turned serious after that. But you kind of already lost me on thinking that this is a serious match when you start like that. But like I said, it was slightly funny. Naito actually gets isolated for a while, but like I said, turns into a serious match. Didn't last too long. El Phantasmo pins Bushi, and we all knew Bushi was probably going to eat the pin here. And then, like I said, so next week it's going to be on Tuesday, the main event. Hiromu Takahashi, the Best of the Super Juniors winner, will go up against Bone Soldier Ishimori. So that should be a great match. Doc Gallows is out next, and he's got his first singles match in New Japan since the 2015 G1. And I think they said in that G1, Toru Yano beat Doc Gallows. So Toru Yano is going to be Doc Gallows' opponent here. We got the disinfectant to the eyes of Doc, but he no sells it, and then takes the bottle and dumps the entire thing in the eyes of Yano. Yano's acting like he's blind. Fairly annoying match, I would say. Just like not enjoyable whatsoever. And Yano low blow after kicking out a Gallows finisher. Um, and yo low blow after that for a Yano win. So kind of like we all were wondering why Doc Gallows is even on the card in a singles match, but I guess we see why he's just there to be made looking like a fool. So we can just quickly move on from that. Never open weight 6-man titles are next. Heel versus heel. So you kind of know what you're gonna expect here. And again, this is they're kind of putting in the first hour of the show. I wasn't really a big fan of I enjoyed the New Japan Strong show before that better. Anyway, never open weight is currently held by Evil showing Takahashi in all their cheating ways. So they're going up against Kanemaru, El Desperado, who just fell short in the Best of the Super Juniors final. And then Zack Sabre Jr. is going to team with them. I noted that Takahashi probably has the worst hair in all of wrestling in this match. And the ring announcer gets wrecked not once, but twice. Abe, the ring announcer, gets absolutely destroyed, which was kind of funny. There's some decent action when Show's in there, but other than that, not really anything to write about, nothing to really report. You don't need to watch this match. You might be able to find the announcer getting wrecked, and that's all you really need to see. But Show wins when he puts a wrench in his kick pad, and I noticed that Show also has terrible music. So by the end of that match, I completely forgot it was for a title. So that's always good when I don't even remember it was a title match. So sorry if I'm a little down on this first hour. It just wasn't much for me. But we got the IWGP heavyweight tag titles next. It's United Empire trying to regain them. United Empire is Great O'Con. This version is Great O'Con and Jeff Cobb. And they lost the titles without being pinned, so now they want them back. Recently won by Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens of the Bullet Club of all people. And the crowd is quiet because they have to be. There's no cheering allowed by the crowd, but they're like this is like deathly quiet. So it seems like absolutely nobody cares about this match. And I don't know, maybe it was just to give Chase Owens a little thanks for doing a good job. Here's a title for a couple weeks. Spoiler alert. But no cheers, slow pace action, but it's not completely awful. There's a couple good things here. Hinari actually got the crowd to cheer for a little bit on accident by just pounding on the Hinari pounded on the mat and said, like, come on, Okan. And that got the crowd to cheer for a minute or so before getting quiet again. But match gets good once Cobb gets in. Cobb's a great wrestler. Fale is just slow offense, and cussing up a storm is kind of funny in small doses. So Bad Luck Fale is in small doses is fine, and kind of entertaining where he's just beating up a guy and cussing him out and all that kind of stuff for a little bit. Very very small doses is fine, and this is when I noted, man, I hope he's not in G1. And we do find out the G1 card later on, and spoiler alert, unfortunately, Bad Luck Fale is in G1. Whew. So, anyway, we've got the Tour of the Islands out of nowhere. So, just out of nowhere, because they're basically Bad Luck and Chase were in control the entire match. And then just Tour of the Islands out of nowhere to win back the titles they never got pinned for. All of a sudden, Rocky Romero comes in trying to get payback for Trent Beretta over from what happened on AEW. But quickly, the numbers game catches up to Rocky, and they just 4-on-1 beat down on Rocky Romero. Rocky didn't have any friends to come help him. So this led me to believe, I'm guessing, that it might be a 3-way tag team title match at Forbidden Door pay-per-view at the end of the month. And I'm guessing that'll be Okan and Cobb champions versus FTR versus Roppongi Vice. You could potentially put the Ring of Honor titles on the line as well, but that's only if there was going to be a title change. If there's not going to be a title change, then it will only be for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Titles. Nothing to write home about this match. Jeff Cobb looked good, and I'm upset that Fale's in the G1, but what are you gonna do? It's at this point that we get to intermission, so I was like, "Oh, thank God!" I'm guessing the second half is gonna be much better, and it indeed was. But Kevin Kelly on commentary was telling us all night that there's going to be a big announcement tonight. So I figured, well, it's getting close to G1 time. So this is going to be our G1 announcement for who joins. And I was super excited to see, of course, who everyone wants to know who the new people in it are. And I will save those ones for last. But what they showed before showing us who's in G1 this year, it looked like they added a third block. So it looks like there's going to be block B, C, A, B, and C, and that should be exciting. It looked like it was 28 people total, so 28 divided by 3 is too much for me to handle right now, but um, I'm sure you guys know the answer. So a third block is announced, and then I'll announce everybody and save the first time participants, which there are 5 first time participants. I'll save those for the end. Again, it's 28 people in total, and of course, Okada, the first one mentioned, Tama Tonga, which he's a definite dark horse to win this year's G1. Tama Tonga seems to be set up as maybe the number 2 or 3 babyface on the roster as of current. He's getting over big time, so look for Tama Tonga to have a huge run in this year's G1. He's got a win over Okada in G1's past, I believe. So Tanahashi's the next one. Yoshihashi, Goto, Toru Yano, Ishii, Jeff Cobb, and Okan both. Will Ospreay, which that's a big deal. Shingo Takagi, that's another good one. Sonata, Naito, of course. Jay White will be there, so now we're cooking. We got all the heavy hitters in here basically. Then it starts to go downhill a little bit with Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens. That's 4 right there I could do without. But Kenta will be back, and Kenta will be in G1. That's huge. Juice Robinson, depending on if everything's good with everybody, looks to be that Juice Robinson, newly healed, will be in there. Tai Chi, which I'm okay with. Zack Sabre Jr., of course, you got to have him. And the biggest reaction from the crowd of any of the announcements, even the ones I'm going to get to after this of the first timers, Lance Archer, and it said from AEW. And spoiler alert for the 5 that were first timers, that is your only AEW representation. It is Lance Archer, who I'm guessing New Japan asked for. That was their number 1 choice, probably, which I can see why. Lance Archer got a huge reaction, and I would just say Lance Archer should probably be in New Japan full time until his career ends. So he should have a pretty good run based on the reaction he got. So here's your 5 first time participants in the G1. It'll be David Finley, 4th generation wrestler, son of Fit Finley, which I could definitely see David Finley and Juice being drawn in the same block. And that'll be freaking interesting match to watch. Filthy Tom Lawler is going to make his G1 debut, a regular on New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, and that'll be interesting. Jonah, another person who's been on New Japan Strong, the former NXT North American champion and current Impact and on Strong, like I said, Jonah, who's about 350 pounds. So Jonah probably is your probably has a weight advantage at least over Archer and Bad Luck Fale. And then Aaron Henare, which we just saw Henare had a new boxing coach apparently tonight. So Aaron Henare got the win in his match over Tenzan earlier. Well, it was a 6-man tag, but you know what I mean. And I would say Hanari's look to be a pretty big push coming out of this G1, or at least in the G1. So look for Hanari to win a lot of matches. And the other one I mentioned was Tama Tonga is probably going to win a lot of matches in G1. So the final one, the one announced, and I'm pretty excited about El Phantasmo making his jump from the junior division to the heavyweight division. We've just got to see a whole month of El Phantasmo in Best of Super Juniors, and now we'll get to see him in G1. So that will be fantastic. And that is a lot of Bullet Club members and a lot of United Empire. So we'll get to see at least a couple United Empire fighting against each other, and same with Bullet Club. And that's the end of the intermission. We come back out, and I was really hoping for a better second half of the show, and we indeed did get a better second half of the show. It'll start off with the pretty much glued on because of the CM Punk injury. We've now got Goto versus Tanahashi for the right to go challenge Jon Moxley for the interim AEW championship at the end of June at Forbidden Door. And basically everyone in the world knows that Goto had no chance in winning this match. Tanahashi was already on AEW television basically saying that he was going to fight CM Punk at the pay-per-view. So we knew where this one was going to go. The announcers even mentioned we all know where this is going to go. So they spent most of the match talking about AEW and kind of they did a good job. If people aren't familiar with AEW product, they filled everybody in on what's going on, what this all means and stuff like that. And they also make a good point that you could think of it. I know we've had a lot of people claim, oh, without me, there'd be no AEW. And of course, there's a lot of factors into why there's an AEW. Like, for one, like if TNA was successful and didn't make a whole bunch of boneheaded moves, there would be no AEW because TNA would have already filled that void. But they made a great point here where they said without Tanahashi because Tanahashi, you could say, saved New Japan. When Tanahashi came in, New Japan was probably at its lowest point in its 50-year of being around, and Tanahashi saved New Japan. So it's definitely an interesting point to say without Tanahashi ever deciding to be a wrestler, would AEW exist? And of course, we don't know the answer, but it's a good what if because Tanahashi saved New Japan, which then Bullet Club came in, and we know the rest of the story. Let's go back to the match. It was a solid match. I would say best match of the night so far, but between all that crap we got in the first half, so it was nice to see just a regular old New Japan strong style match here. Goto and Tanahashi doing their thing, and Tanahashi wins it about 8 minutes so it didn't even go the 10-minute mark, and this will send But Goto almost wins at a point, and then Tanahashi just quickly wakes up, sling blade, couple high fly flows for the win. So the 3 years in the making match, Jon Moxley versus Tanahashi, will probably main event Forbidden Door, but I would not be surprised if Jay White, spoiler alert, also is in the running for main eventing Forbidden Door. And that's going to be one of the big storylines. You know, the wrestling media, the journalists in wrestling media are all going to be like, oh, I bet there's going to be a big frat between Tony Khan and the New Japan people of who they want to be the main event, which title. But I'm sure it's already decided, and I'm sure it's probably the AEW title, despite CM Punk not being in it anymore. But yeah, 3 years in the making, Jon Moxley versus Tanahashi. That should be a great match. And I mean, they even brought it up in this match. They said Tanahashi wants to win the AEW and he wants to stay in AEW and fly the banner of New Japan Wrestling in America full time for a little bit here to really drive home, then get more people to come watch New Japan. So I would love to see that, bro. I mean, I wanted Eddie Kingston to be interim champion, but if it's not Eddie Kingston, Tanahashi's a great second choice. And then we could eventually get the Tanahashi CM Punk match we wanted when CM Punk comes back. So Whew, can you imagine Tanahashi on Dynamite every week or every other week at least? So next we've got a really interesting match. So strap in because this one's interesting. It's the KOPW 2022 trophy, which it starts at the January 4th show, and then you get to keep the trophy if you're the holder of it at the end of the year. So that's the kind of rules that how it goes on that. You want to hold the trophy at the end of the year to become the champion of the entire year. So the rule so the every match in these like KOPW trophy matches has a crazy gimmick attached to them. And there's always like a vote between the two challengers, the champion and the challenger, I mean, and they both throw in what they want the stipulation of this match to be. And we're talking crazy stipulations. So before I start talking about the stipulations, I do want to mention in my mind, I think this whole KOPW trophy and the voting for whose stipulation you want to win is just a I'm not gonna call it a ploy because that makes it sound like it's being sneaky and underhanded. I think it's just a way of the New Japan officials to gauge the popularity of their wrestlers because currently the crowd cannot cheer. They can clap, and you can see if like they clap more for this guy and then the other guy, but nobody can make sounds with their mouths yet. So I think this whole maybe the KOPW trophy was created solely to be. Now, of course, you could just have like monthly. Who's your favorite New Japan wrestler? But this is a way to be more sly about it. Oh, which gimmick match do you want? But really, it's just whoever's the more popular wrestler is going to win the vote. You know that. So I think it's just a sly way because they can't hear the crowd's reactions right now for them to have a vote and gauge different people's. It's possibly a reason, or maybe just something that they fell into. Oh, here's something we could do once they did create it. But anyway, and this is basically almost like a Yano special. Even though Toru Yano isn't in this match, it's almost like his trophy. So and it gives him, or it had given him when he was in the matches, different things to do other than just his normal shtick, which had definitely grown thin after years and years of seeing the Yano shtick for so many matches. So here we go. So last time the KOPW match or had a match. So just to give you an example of how crazy these different gimmick matches are, you got the vote between no finishers allowed match or only finishers allowed match. And sadly, the no finishers allowed match won. But can you imagine a match where like it was only like Stone Cold Steve Austin trying to hit the stunner and Triple H trying to hit the pedigree, and they weren't allowed to do anything else? That would be hilarious. So that's the kind of stuff you're looking at here. It's purely gimmick, but and a lot of the old school New Japan wrestling fans probably hate it, but this isn't the same New Japan anymore. Like there's you guys know, like with the evil and Dick Togo stuff and all the cheating, and it's definitely gone more down the sports entertainment route. And I don't think this KOPW trophy is like the least of your worries as far as like all the heel heat stuff and stuff that's kind of passe. Or I at least I would go to New Japan for wrestling that didn't involve that kind of heel heat tactics and cheating and stuff like that. Now the other side of the coin is, well, then are people that say, well, they're building up these people with the heel heat so that we can create some stars down the line when the crowd can cheer, and they're going to go crazy when somebody finally stands up to them and like whatever. So anyway, going back to this, this gimmick. Now, this is such a good gimmick match tonight that I think you could literally, now maybe not in New Japan because there would be another riot, but you could make a whole title in a separate company, whether it be like NWA or maybe not Impact, because it'll bring back people will just immediately compare it to the Grand Championship, which was a terrible idea. But while I'm on the subject of the Grand Championship, when they first were explaining the Impact Grand Championship rules, where it's going to be judged by these different people, like old timey wrestlers and maybe like Gail Kim or something like that, are going to judge you in rounds. Like it brought in my mind, like imagine like a wrestling, like maybe not a company, but at least like a special event or special events here and there where you had wrestlers go out and have a match, and then there would be judges, but they would judge the match like based on like how good they thought it would be. So it would be like Jim Cornette, and then you would get someone that had like a totally different opinion than Jim Cornette, but also knowledgeable in the business. And then you'd get a third person who maybe doesn't even have that much knowledge of the business, more of like your casual fan. And then it wouldn't be kayfabe. It would legitimately be like a judging as if it was a routine in like the Olympics for like a gymnastics routine. And then at the end of the night, whoever had the best match, they would say like, well, maybe not really best match, but you could literally have a company where you do this where it's judged, legitimately judged, but you would have to throw a giant like cooperation score and make that be heavily weighted as part of your score, because you would legitimately have people in the match start going in the business for themselves. So you would have to weigh it heavily. And I'm sorry I'm going on this tangent on New Japan show, but you would have to weigh it heavily in favor of cooperation. But still, at the end of the night, you could have a new champion, and then at the next event, a new champion would be crowned and they would get the belt, or you could defend yours by successfully being the best person with the highest score. So whoever had the highest score at the end of the event, say there would be like 8 matches, and they would all be singles matches, and maybe you could do like the next event all tag matches. But see what I'm saying? Like, so then it would be judged by people in the business, that it wouldn't be kayfabe whatsoever. Of course, you would run into biases and all that because it's the wrestling business, but I think that's a good idea. Anyway, this one I think you could also create at least a championship division out of on your show and have it be just a part of your variety show, because this one it's a 10-minute time limit, no pinfalls, no DQ, no nothing. But what there is we're keeping score, and at the end of the 10 minutes, whoever has the most counts, pinfall counts, wins. So what I mean by pinfall counts is, say I get you pinned down to the shoulders and the referee goes 1, I just got 1 added to my score. Now say I got you down for a 1, 2, 3, and you still don't kick out, and it goes to 4, 5, and then you kick out, I just scored 5 points. Or it could be something like, I get you down for 1, you kick out, but I get your shoulders down for 1 again, I just score another point. So I think that's a great idea. What I did notice in this match is, if you're going to have this be a thing, 10 minutes is way too long, because they kind of had to stall for a long period, because you don't want it to be a constant thing of, you don't want it to be after 10 minutes a score of like 55 to 52, because everyone's going to be so freaking confused at that point. And the final score was there was only 21 total points scored in this match when it was all said and done after 10 minutes. But a lot of them were done in a flurry, and maybe even a point for you, a point for you. But I think this is something like, not in New Japan, of course, but if you had a fucking match where you did these rules where I get you down for a 2 count, so I get 2 points. I get you down for a 4 count, now I got 4 points. But you got me down for a 1, and then another 1, and then another 1. Now there's 3 points to you. That could legitimately be something that's cool. And just to throw in the middle of your card, maybe not New Japan like I'm saying, but on a Impact or WWE or AEW or NWA card, I think that could be a legitimate winner. This is a match type I've never seen in my life. I've been watching wrestling for 30 years. I've never even thought of this type of match. Like, if I knock you out, I can get a count of like 50 and just walk out of the ring and just, so like I'm saying, really, really good idea. I would definitely not have it be 10 minutes long. It seemed like they had to stall too much. I think like 3 minutes would be perfect. And then it's just a really high paced match. So a lot of this match, they had to stall a little bit, but a lot of the match was really high paced, where they're just trying to get at least a 1 count to get 1 point on the board. So we'll get into it. We got I don't even think I told you who's in the match. So the current trophy champion, however you want to put it, is Shingo Takagi, and he was challenged by Taichi, who I think has one of the best entrances in all of wrestling. So Miho Abe comes out, that is Tai Chi's like girl or whatever, and really good performance. His whole gimmick is that he's like a pop singer and stuff, but he doesn't actually sing. He's lip syncing, and that's part of the gimmick as well. The Rampage Dragon Takagi comes out next, current holder of the trophy. Shingo looks pissed, ready just to end Tai Chi's entire existence. And this is like, as they're explaining the rules more, I'm like, oh, this is an awesome idea. But then while they're also explaining the rules, somehow the All Atlantic AEW Championship got brought up, which is, this had me dying of laughter, because they then started to say like, oh well, if you think about it, the Atlantic like kind of doesn't really end, and maybe it's all just one big ocean. So All Atlantic, then that's why Japan can be involved. So they were taking the piss out of it, which was hilarious, because the All Atlantic name is pretty dumb. Why not just name it the International AEW International Title Championship? Um, so this is when we see like at one point in the match, Shingo gets a 3 count, 1, 2, 3, and it looks like Shingo let Tai Chi back up, and we didn't have the best angles, so maybe Tai Chi kicked out, but that's not part of the rules, because we find out later that Tai Chi is losing by, I think, 5 points at the very end, and he's got a 3 count, and he's trying his best to get like a 5 count so he can get that 5. But he only gets the 3, and then he gets a 1 count, but that only left him one short. I don't know exactly. I guess if it was a tie, maybe the tie goes to the champion, or they have maybe a 1 minute overtime. But I think this legitimately, you could even have a championship division in and again, I wouldn't put it in New Japan per se, but any of those other wrestling companies out there, look at this match and think about what you could do with this. It would be like really quick paced 3 minute matches or something along those lines. Um, so far, the second half is a thumbs up for me. The Goto Tanahashi match set us back into some serious stuff, even though right from there we go to the KOPW trophy, but they took that serious. There was a lot of intensity. It looked like Shingo really wanted to end Tai Chi's life. So we go straight from that to a battle of Bullet Club originals, battle of Bullet Club OGs. A lot of story in this, which the announcers did a great job of explaining all of the story for those new people out there. But Machine Gun Carl Anderson will be challenging Tama Tonga for his never openweight title. And like I said, a clash of Bullet Club originals. Carl Anderson helped out Tama Tonga immensely when Tama Tonga was only just starting out. It was a young lion, and they made sure to tell us all this within the commentary. If you didn't already know, Tama Tonga's out here making his first defense against his former mentor, and it kind of seemed like they were explaining good. They were doing a good job by explaining on commentary that it seemed like Jay White kicked out Gorillas of Destiny because he wanted to make way for Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, which somewhat makes sense, but also doesn't make sense, because, I mean, look at who was the IWGP Tag Champs coming into tonight. It was Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. So you're telling me that you can't have two tag teams, established tag teams in both? I understand it's the story they want to tell here, and the real reason Tama Tonga got kicked out of Bullet Club is because Tama Tonga is over with the crowd. Tama Tonga is going to go on a run in G1. He might make the finals. I don't think he's going to win it, but Tama Tonga might make the finals. And they bring up here that, remember, Carl Anderson was in the finals of G1, and remember, Carl Anderson was in the finals for the very first ever never open weight finals. I think he lost to Ishii, if I'm not mistaken, because we all know that's Ishii's title, but it might have been Minoru Suzuki. I can't remember. Somebody let me know in the chat if you know. But a really hot start to this match. Drop kick to Anderson before the bell even started when Tama Tonga came out. So Tama Tonga wasn't here to mess around. Great intensity, and like I said, a great travel down memory lane. The announcers just waxed poetic about the entire Bullet Club story from beginning to end, or beginning to present day. And like I said, really put it over that he thought it was despicable that Machine Gun Carl Anderson wouldn't side with Tama Tonga, his long-term friend. The crowd is really into Tama. Tama hit his original finisher, the jumping DDT. I forget the name, but really close three on that one. And then we see our first gun stun, because if you remember, they brought it up on commentary. The stun gun was inherited from Machine Gun Carl Anderson to Tama Tonga when Anderson left to go to the WWE. So we get our first stun gun attempt. It will definitely not be the last stun gun attempt. It was just a foreshadow at this point, and a bunch of stun gun counters. Like I said, after this, we get a Bernard driver by Anderson, which looked devastating and was a super close to a three. Then we get Anderson distracting the ref. It was kind of awkward, but the ref is distracted, and Gallows gets in, but he gets stun gunned. But quickly after that, Anderson just gets up, stun gun to win the never open weight title. We've got a new champion. Like I said, I could definitely see Tama Tonga going all the way to the finals of G1. So I don't think he could win it, but I think they're gonna definitely test the waters with seeing how far New Japan can push Tama Tonga. Um, I'm okay with Anderson winning it here. He's basically a legend. He's basically a New Japan legend at this point. So it's good to see him win the title. Um, this next match was a little bit awkward at the beginning because we didn't know what we were getting coming into this match. Now, if you guys saw, this is it was supposed to be a triple threat match for the U.S. title, and Juice Robinson recently won it, and Juice Robinson had to go get appendicitis, and they told the whole story that Juice Robinson had the choice to either have the surgery in Japan or they could get him to America and then have the surgery. So Juice Robinson chose to have the surgery in America, took the title with him, and then put out a video that New Japan put on their website that he's not coming, he's not bringing the title. And it still had me thinking, well, if New Japan's going to post this, but yet still say it's going to be a triple threat, well, then maybe it's a storyline. But no, indeed, this was all real. Juice Robinson is not here. The title is not here. And New Japan officials say the show must go on. There will be a new champion, despite there being no title or champion in the country. So it's going to be Will Ospreay versus Cold Skull Sonata in a one-on-one match. And if you guys remember, Osprey and Sonata both have had this title recently, and both had their own injury issues. So literally, the U.S. title is cursed. They even bring it up that it's cursed. They bring up the fact that the kidney infection that Will Osprey had, he legitimately only came close to his deathbed 3 weeks ago. Like, they luckily caught it, and it didn't get as bad as it could have, but left untreated any longer, and we could have been looking at something like tragic. So this U.S. title's cursed. It'll be defended in a one-on-one match with no champion, no title belt present. When Will Ospreay gets to the ring, he's hilariously told by the referee there's no title belt, and Ospreay's like cussing, like, "Are you serious?" Like, and it was pretty funny and awkward at the same time. It'll be interesting to see where they go from there, but hopefully this is the end of the U.S. title, IWGP U.S. title curse, and we get a decent match here. I know Sonata has a lot of haters out there. Maybe I'm biased because I became a Sonata fan in Impact Wrestling before he ever became big and before he ever joined LIJ. So maybe I'm a little biased, but I thought it was a decent match from Sonata here. Of course, you could put Will Ospreay out there with just about anyone, even Bad Luck Fale, and get a good match. Good counterattack, technical wrestling. This is the exact type of wrestling I love to watch. So no complaints there. Also featured high flying and strong style at points. So the perfect New Japan hybrid style right here. Ospreay with a super kick to the injured eye of Sonata, and then a Os cutter right after that for a close three. A little bit later on, but not too much further, hidden blade, and the announcers are like, "Oh, it's probably already over there. What is he doing?" But Ospreay hits him with the Stormbreaker anyway after that, and the announcers even say, even though I was typing it in my notes here, I was typing fairly easy win for Ospreay, and they typed, "Hey, Ospreay was pretty much in no trouble here." So really awkward. This whole situation is really awkward. Like, it's awkward that there's no title. Like, why do you not have a back? How do you not have a backup title? Like, even if it's just a replica, like, I don't care if it's as like maybe the real one's real gold and stuff. Just have a freaking fake one that's real leather and then like tin. Like, how hard can it be to plan ahead? Because you know your wrestlers, some of them that you give titles to live all the way on the other side of the world. So it's really made it really made New Japan look cheap while also making New Japan look like assholes because they couldn't just not have a title match. Like the thing to do would be just to not have a title match tonight. I mean, Juice. I mean, the maybe it'll finally end the curse though. So who knows the right answer? But the whole thing looked awkward that New Japan had crowned a champion with no title. And that brings us to the main event. Oh, well, quickly, Ospreay goes over to the camera, screaming that New Japan screwing with him again. And then Ospreay goes over to the English announcers and puts over that he legitimately almost died 3 weeks ago. So I'm glad that he's all right. We get a main event hype package next, and I'm getting super hyped for the main event. Really good hype package. And it'll be for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Jay White, Switchblade versus Kazuchika Okada. Switchblade's out with Gato, which is, of course, Gato is the former manager of Okada, who turned on Okada to join with Jay White, while Jay White was also left the Chaos faction to join Bullet Club. So a lot of history here. Jay White came into the match 3 wins and 1 loss in a singles against Okada. So Jay White may be some people's favorites to win because he has already came in with the advantage. Jay White actually got the crowd to speak last time he was on an event, which we haven't heard the crowd speak the entire time. They're not allowed to, but they did anyway when Jay White made his return. And that becomes a major part of the entire story. Jay White spends the entire almost 40-minute match yelling at the crowd, "Why are you silent?" And "Are you silent because Okada's a terrible champion?" Like, and then he's like yelling at Okada, "You're the reason they're all silent." So pretty good character work. And this match is all about character work. So word of warning right now, if you're listening to me and trying to decide if you should watch this or not, I would say watch this if you're obviously big time in the New Japan Wrestling, big time into Jay White, and big time into Okada, because this is probably some of the most pivotal moments in the career arc of Jay White and Okada. This is must-see viewing to see the bigger picture of their story, because this seemed like a very pivotal night in the story of Jay White and Okada as individuals, not like together against each other. So definitely go out of your way to watch this if you're like huge on story. But if you're just here to find a really good match, this might not be the match for you. This is all storytelling. This is very slow paced. This is a very slow paced, almost 40-minute match with a lot of selling and a lot of character work. A lot of character work is done on this match, and you could see this match being rated anywhere from 5 stars to 1 star. And then all depends on you personally. How much do you value the storytelling in your wrestling over the moves? If you're a guy that loves the spot fest match, this is not your match. But if you're the guy that likes the storytelling, this is the match for you. So Okada's coming out. They tell us Okada's been in 7 of the 8 Dominions at Osaka-jo Hall. And of the main events, he's been in 7 out of the 8. And they said Okada's is the reason that they're now in the bigger stadium for the Dominion event is Okada. So they say Okada's the reason we're here. But then they also tell us, but they think Jay White is the reason that the crowd here right now, 2022, is here. So the announcers are kind of putting over that they think Okada is not a draw currently. Okada's the reason that we're here in the bigger building 8 years ago, and Okada's the man. But they don't think Okada's the reason that the people are in the building tonight. They think Jay White is the reason that they're in the building tonight. And this could be I don't know if this is just the announcers on the English side going off on their own, but I'm assuming this is something told to them by the NJPW officials that that's the story. The story here is that Okada, for whatever reason, and the crowd is more into Jay White potentially. So that's the story here. And like I said, Jay White spends the entire match yelling at the crowd, "Why are you silent? Say something!" Like, pretty good stuff. It was good. When I was watching the match, I didn't like it, but now that it's like an hour and a half since the match ended, and now that I'm talking all these things out, I can appreciate it a little bit more. So I will admit I was getting a little bit bored because a long periods of this match are Okada got his ass beat tonight. Okada had to sell for like 30 of the 40 minutes they wrestled, and then it was like a good counterattack wrestling the other 10 minutes. But 30 of the 40 minutes Okada was selling. And it would be one big move. Okada sells and Jay White yells at the crowd and or Okada. And it would be that way for 45-second intervals throughout the entire night. So one big move, sell, use the crowd, 45 seconds pass. Then another thing like a big move, sell, yell at the crowd, 45 seconds pass. So that's the kind of pace we're talking about in this match. But it featured a ton of character work. Coming out of this match, we are led to believe that Okada might be like, oh, doubt. There might be some self-doubt and stuff like that. And spoiler alert, Okada does not win this match. He gets his ass beat the entire match and does not win. Every comeback that Okada has gets snuffed out within 30 seconds. There's almost no point in these 38 minutes that Okada has a 2 or 3 minute in charge flurry. So the story of this match is Okada got beat. He got beat bad, but Okada did not lose clean. Keep that in mind. Jay White was doing the cheating tactics. He had Gato out there with him, and I wrote down some notes. So let me just kind of go through a little bit of the notes in the match, but that gives you an overall feel of the match. And like I said, I was lower on the match as I was watching it, but now thinking about it, I'm a little higher on it. Jay's super over with the crowd, and whether he's doing the heel stuff or not, he's over. We immediately, like, not too far in, Gato's already grabbing Okada's leg and trying to trip him, and we get a lot of the heel work throughout the entire match is great by Jay. Okada snaps at one point, right around the 10-minute mark of the match. So 10 minutes in, Okada like snaps, like there's some rage from Okada, and he slaps the soul out of Jay White. And I'm thinking, okay, now we're going in the second gear. And it's not that long after that he slaps the soul out of Jay White that Okada gets thrown to the outside, thrown in the barriers. He does do, Okada, that is, does do his barrier leap at one point. So he gets on control for maybe a minute, but immediately loses control. Okada's getting thrown into the barrier time after time after time. And this is the point in time. We're at about 15 minutes in, and it's been about 3 minutes of barrier shots. This is when you're about to get 20 minutes of Okada selling while Jay White does character work for like 20 minutes straight almost. And it starts with this brawl to the outside. Of course, Okada gets in just before the 20 count. And we get more of the Jay White does one move, Okada sells, Jay White yells at the crowd. Then we've got Okada making another comeback, but he was getting hurt from the barricade on his back too much, so that when Okada does the drop kick, his back hurts too much for him to make any more um, attacks, and so Jay's back on top. Multiple submissions from Jay at this point, including a clover leaf, and Jay. You can hear Jay throughout the entire match because of the silent crowd or whatever, they have to be silent, and that's part of the story too. So, but yeah, Jay's like, yeah, Tanahashi, you watching this? You're going for a title, but it's not the title. Just talking about how Tanahashi will be fighting Moxley, but it's not the world title of IWGP. We get a ref bump, around this time with Gato holding the ref and then the ref bump. We get a chair thrown in, but Okada steps on it. Um, Gato distracts ref again a little bit, not that far, and then low blow by Jay White. So the finish of the match wasn't the low blow, but all these distractions by Gato, all the low blow and stuff like that. Like Jay White did destroy Okada, but it was not clean. It was not honorable whatsoever. There was no honor in Jay's win tonight. He wanted the adulation of the crowd. So Jay White's character is he will do anything to be on top, and yet he wants all the adulation as if he's the hero. Jay White believes he's the hero in his own story. He believes he's the reason that New Japan is as big as they are, and in his mind, all this is true and he should be getting the respect that he deserves. So that's the whole story of his character here. About 30 minutes in now, and it looks like the final act's about to start. They're both looking a little, I'm not going to say tired, but you know what I mean. But Okada's been selling forever at this point. We finally get to a trading of forearms where Jay White's like, oh, you want to do this? I can do any style you want, Okada. So just constantly Jay White talking trash to everyone and anything and everything throughout the entire 38 minutes or so. Right when again Okada's gaining the advantage rate at this point, but Jay White counters it. Every time Okada gains an advantage, Jay White counters it. We got another few minutes of flurry. The best part of the entire match, like that's kind of stuff I like to watch, is the flurry of counterattack wrestling that they had towards the end. But we only got that for about 3 minutes, and then one Blade Runner is all it took at this point. After all, which makes sense. I mean, Okada had been getting beaten up real bad. But one Blade Runner after that flurry I was telling you about, where they were all trying, we got tries for the Rainmaker and different moves. But one Blade Runner later, and it's over. 1, 2, 3, new heavyweight champion of the world, IWGP, Jay White, Switchblade. So all of Bullet Club comes out. I'm thinking at this point, what is it going to be for? I'm thinking through my brain what's going to be at Forbidden Door at the AEW New Japan show. The rumors are a triple threat match, and after everything Jay White says in this and the post show, I do believe it's going to be triple threat: Jay White, Adam Cole, Hangman Page for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, which could potentially main event Forbidden Door. I'm assuming Tony Khan wants the AEW title, the main event, but it could potentially change his mind. That triple threat seems pretty juicy. I'm not a really big Adam Cole guy per se. I'm kind of an Adam Cole hater, in fact, but that still seems like a pretty good match, and it might be main event over Moxley and Tanahashi. But like I told you, I really want Tanahashi to win that AEW title and just stay in AEW for like a month or two. I think that would be amazing. So the show's not quite over. We get a lot of Bullet Club. We get a lot of storylines and a lot of stuff directed. Even like Jay White's like literally looking into the camera saying, "Hey, all you AEW people, all you AEW fans, listen up." So a lot of AEW storylines. I'm sure we're gonna get all of this replayed on Dynamite, but it was good to see it all here, and I'll let you know what happens. So of course, Bullet Club, all of Bullet Club comes out, of course, except Juice Robinson, who's stuck in America with the U.S. title that's no longer his. And they come out with beers, and they're celebrating with beers for a while. And Jay White gets the mic, of course. Anybody gets the mic when they win the main event, whether it's a small show or a big show. And Jay White calls out Hangman, calling him a bitch of a cowboy basically, and says you wanted Okada, well you can have him because you're not getting this, and he points to the title. Jay tries his best to get some of the crowd to speak. He's like, why are you silent, say something. Some of the crowd speaks, but it's not a ton, and yeah, pretty decent. We get more when he gets backstage, but Kevin Kelly puts over the announcer. Kevin Kelly puts over how Bullet Club really did move the needle for New Japan Pro Wrestling in general. So we get to the backstage stuff. This is pretty good. Jay White puts over Ace Austin really good right away, so that was cool. And it makes sense for them to bring Ace Austin in because not only were the Good Brothers in Impact Wrestling for a while, but Jay White and El Phantasmo both were in Impact this year, all within 2022. So they they were in Impact, and pretty much Ace Austin is Impact's best young X Division type talent, and a pretty good fit for Bullet Club, I would say. So that was cool at the very beginning. He says he's Jay says he's 4-1 over Okada. Jay says Hangman had to create a whole new company just to be champion. That's how bad Hangman is. But he congrats Cole on winning the Owen tournament. We get a great promo by Carl Anderson running down AEW big time, just making fun of AEW. That was pretty funny. Jay brings up beating Kenny Omega for the U.S. title, and then how that trickle down effect created AEW. So Jay White's taking credit for AEW. We've had two different people take credit for AEW's birth tonight, which is funny. Although it was the announcers taking credit for it, not Tanahashi himself. Jay ends it by telling Okada not to take it too hard whenever he wakes up. But Jay White will be waiting for Okada whenever he's ready. So that's the end of the show, and I thought it was great. The first half sucked. The main event was slow as hell, but think now that I mean I knew it was story based and I could tell the story as I was going, but now that I kind of said it all out loud and I've had a moment that digest. I do believe that was a pretty good main event. It's not for everyone. If you're not in this selling and slow paced and story built, a lot of story came out of this. I think this is a very pivotal moment in Jay White's career. Jay White could go from this. He was already a pretty big star, but this could be the catalyst to him becoming a mega star. And then with Okada, it's now beginning to bring in, oh, am I starting to hit am I out of my prime? So that whole story, am I drawing people, or is the crowd not into me? Like Jay White kept yelling at Okada, they're silent because you're the champion. So that's going to be some good stories to look forward to and going forward for years to come, and a pivotal moment in those stories. So must watch television for people that like the stories. The next NJPW show, other than reg, there might be Strong next weekend before this, but the next regular NJPW show is Saturday. No big main event announced for that, but it is Hiromu Takahashi's hometown, so he'll probably be in the main event, I would assume, in a tag match, like a three-man match. And then we got a Monday and Tuesday show after that next week. The Monday show is main evented by the junior tag title championships. And then Tuesday's main evented by Hiromu getting his tag title shot for winning the best of the Super Juniors against Bone Soldier. So we got that to look forward to. Like I told you earlier, I'm going to try and get to the NWA Always Ready pay-per-view that happened today. I'm going to try and watch that, and I'll and put up a review for that. Make sure you go watch my latest stream on my channel of WWE 2K Universe Mode. I just got to WrestleMania 39. I think you guys would enjoy the show I put together. Special mention to the Gable Steveson versus Brock Lesnar match. That was the surprise hit. And definitely check out first ever episode of the Wonderful Wrestling Podcast. I did that Friday night going into Saturday. I've been talked the week of wrestling. Not much New Japan talk on that one, but there will be the next time. So I'm going to get going. I hope to see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in. Good show. Thumb up overall from me. Make sure you go watch Strong as well. Strong was good. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.